Hey everybody, welcome, welcome to Hidden Horror. Thank you for spending this time with me. I appreciate that. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to Hidden Horror. How are you guys doing? How are you feeling? Hopefully you are not like me, ill and sick with a cold in this springtime. Well, I'm doing okay. I'm hanging in there. I'm still fighting the cold, but I'm here. I'm going to bring this information because I've been thinking about Bryan Kohberger's alibi. Um, the reality is that right now, Cyree, he's not going to be able to testify to the whereabouts of Bryan Kohberger between that time frame where his cell phone was not reporting to the network or a network. And it's making me think more and more about his alibi. And I'm wondering, please let me know what you think, how you feel about this idea that about a 2 hour window, a 2 hour time frame between 2:47 a.m. and 4:48 a.m., Bryan Kohberger is not reporting. His cell phone is not reporting to a network. You know, I like nature. I like outdoors. I like kayaking. That's like my favorite thing to do. I like zip lining. I like hiking. Um, I like to rent a log house to be outdoors, but not necessarily camp outside. Um, I too like to go into nature. I like to plant a garden. I like to plant flowers. I like to go to botanical gardens, visit the zoo, go to areas, go to the ocean, go to the beach, go sailing. I like all of that too. And I'm never thinking when I'm doing these things that there may not be cell phone coverage. In all honesty, I don't really think about things like that at all. I'm not thinking that I need to have someone be able to, verify and confirm where my whereabouts are. But I am married. I do have a child, and then I have a lot of family. So I typically don't do these type of things alone. I typically am with others, so someone would probably always be able to account for my time. And I know Bryan Kohberger's situation, he doesn't have a spouse. He doesn't have any children. He does live alone, and it appears that he has a pattern. This is like a hobby. This is something that he is regularly doing with the running, the hiking, um, the sightseeing, or get stargazing, all of that. He's doing it alone. So I never really thought a lot about his alibi as it relates to this 2 hour window because up until now, the prosecution has been saying that they can follow that white vehicle, um, traversing around this area near 1122 King Road. And then the defense has said he's nowhere near 1122 King Road. He's not near the crime scene. He's not in this area. He's not even in Idaho. He's in Washington. And I didn't think a lot about it, honestly. I did feel that he was going to have issues if he could not prove demonstrate where he was during the alleged time of the murders. I knew that, but I did not think a lot about it. And now that I'm thinking about it, one would be concerned now that Cyree is not going to be able to testify to any of that time period because they're saying Bryan Kohberger's phone is not reporting to the network. And I thought about that more. I don't know how things really, really work with cell phones. But what I was thinking, if his cell phone is not reporting to a network, would they be able to track his vehicle? Like in the car, you have GPS. The GPS can track and follow your whereabouts and things like that. Is there anything in his vehicle that would be able to track his movements? And then I was also thinking, at the time of the murders, were they independently trying to, and when I say that, I mean the defense, were they independently trying to find evidence of the route that Bryan Kohberger allegedly drove while he was driving? Did the defense go and try to find any video footage of his car on this route during the time frame of those 2 hours, specifically um, leading up to him going to wherever he was going? I don't want to assume that he was at YY County Park in Washington because he didn't specifically state that. Um, in the writing, he said that he often drove. He was driving that night, and part of that driving is the stargazing, watching the moon, hiking, running, etc. Right? But he never specifically said that during this 2 hour window he was at Wawawai County Park. So I don't want to assume that, but I have to go off what's provided, right? I have to go off the information that I am given. So I want to unpack this idea a little bit more. I want to show you the Wawawai County Park. I am going to use two videos from two different YouTube content creators because I'm not in this area. I can't go to the park. I can't go to where Bryan Kohberger lived. I couldn't go to 1122 King Road. So I do sometimes have to rely on other content creators. I really appreciate, that they are doing this work that I'm unable to do. But I want to show you a little bit of this area. I think it will be helpful, and I only take just a few minutes of each of their videos because I want you to go and check out their videos. Follow them. A lot of people are on the ground trying to figure this out, trying to put the pieces of this case together. And as I have said so many times, it's really, really hard and difficult because this case just has so many issues. I mean, every piece of the evidence is an issue, from the car to the knife sheath, the touch DNA on the knife sheath. Um, with the IgG, I have not even unpacked that whole situation with the IgG because I didn't want to touch it. I didn't want to talk about what the FBI did, how they used an unauthorized lab. I didn't want to say, why does this knife sheath have none of the victim's blood on it? You have a brutal case where four people are brutally attacked, stabbed to death, and there's like no blood on this knife sheath. Does not make sense. I'm going to say allegedly, because they could come out later and say, yes, there was blood on the knife sheath. There's other people's DNA on the knife sheath. I mean, the information is like slowly coming out as we approach this trial date of August 11th, and it's pretty scary. Um, how all of these things, all of the evidence is so problematic. Nothing has been straightforward, nothing has been easy. Um, yeah, it's been a lot. This case, and maybe this is why people are intrigued, people are interested, people are following, people are reporting on all aspects of this case. Like, it's so much. I can barely focus on any of my other cases because every day, every couple of days, there's document drop. I mean, I don't have the time to review all of this stuff. So I'm trying to highlight some of the most important things. And I do need to do a video on the IgG. It's just like, where is the time? So Anyway, let's get started. I'm going to start with the article because I have a lot to go over. I don't want to hold you um, long. Um, my apologies. I had it pulled up, but it timed out. So, okay. I have to pull it up again because my tablet timed out. So, my apologies for that. And sometimes, my internet, I have the highest speed. I have boosters. I have a thing right here that's supposed to boost the signal, and I still have trouble with the internet. So, am I surprised that this happened? I'm not. I am not surprised that this happened. Where if he was driving around, and I'm referring to Bryan Kohberger, that he didn't have any service, especially in this area, this rural area, mountainous area. I'm not surprised. I've experienced that before, driving and going through areas that are high, mountainous terrain, things like that, that don't have any residential or business areas. They're not going to put a lot of towers there. In fact, there's not a lot of towers in this area at all. So I doubt that they will be putting a tower in this park area because they don't even have towers where people live. They were basically using, I believe, two or three towers in this entire Moscow area, and this is covering the university. So, you know, it's not surprising to me. But anyway, the article that I'm going to start and lay this foundation is from abcnews.gov.com. The writers are Sasha Pesnick and Josh Margolin. It's an older article, but it's a good thing because it's capturing what was happening then. It's dated April 17, 2024, and it's titled Kohberger's Alibi Disputes His Location on Night of Idaho Student Killings. Lawyers. Lawyers for Bryan Kohberger, the man accused of stabbing two. In fact, let me bring a picture up of Bryan because I'm talking about him. I'm going to share my screen so I can pull a picture up of Bryan. Now, I went for an older picture of Bryan because I wanted to show that he had kind of transformed his body. Um, from all accounts, he was a heavier set man, and he decided to change his life. And he changed his eating habits. He went vegan, allegedly, and he began to work out, to exercise, to hike, to jog, to run. And this helped him shed some of that weight. And this gives me more thoughts into why he probably was still trying to physically be active, with this driving around, going to these parks. This is a good way to exercise, to hike, to run, to maintain this other smaller, different body than when he was, I don't want to say obese, but he was heavier. So I want to show you that picture of him. And then I'll just pull up uh, another picture of him. He's much smaller um, in these pictures. So I want to see if I can get a better picture of him. Let's see. Yeah, I want to enlarge it. So he lost the weight, and something he could have been doing is trying to maintain that weight loss by exercising. Well, let me continue. Lawyers for Bryan Kohberger, the man accused of stabbing to death four Idaho college students in November of 2022, planned to use analysis of cell phone tower data to show he was not at the home where the killings occurred at the time. Police believe the crime happened, according to a new court filing. Kohberger, a one time PhD student charged in the murders, plans to challenge the prosecutor's case with expert analysis of cell phone tower data, his lawyer said in a court filing made public Wednesday. So this is Cyree, right? I was thinking about going over the video from Cyree's testimony from May of 2024. I watched the testimony and I thought, you know what, it may be helpful to share Cyree's testimony about the cell phone data and his thoughts, his expert opinion on the platform. I know I've talked about it before, I referred to it, but I said, you know what, it may be time. The video is about an hour, maybe a little bit over an hour. It may be time to share that video because Cyree, he has his opinion. He filed those two, well, the defense filed those two affidavits, but he put the information in affidavits and his belief. And maybe we need to flush out this information a little bit more. Okay, so I'm thinking about sharing that testimony from the May 2024 hearing where Cyree testified. Okay. His lawyers argue their analysis shows Kohberger was not only not at the King Road home, where 4 students were found stabbed to death in November of 2022, but that he was driving elsewhere. So if the defense is saying not only was he not near the King Road home, but that they can prove through their analysis that he was driving elsewhere, I really don't know how that's going to happen. Between that period of 2:47 a.m. and 4:48 a.m., about that 2-hour window, I don't know what analysis they have. I don't know what that's going to cover because Cyree will not be allowed to testify regarding that 2-hour window. So I'm not quite sure what other evidence they have, this analysis that the defense is referring to. I don't know what that is. I don't know how they're going to demonstrate that Bryan Kohberger was out driving elsewhere, away from 1122 King Road, not near the crime scene, near the house in this area. I still am I'm unsure how they're going to do that. Again, I am not a cell phone data expert. I'm not an expert in these records, triangulation. I just don't know. I don't know what evidence they have that they're going to be able to demonstrate this, but they're saying they have it. In this article from these court filings, they're saying they have some type of analysis. I just don't understand if that's accurate. Why is the prosecutor still standing on, but they can prove, they can demonstrate that he did this? I don't get it. I don't think it's enough for the prosecutor to say that this white, possibly white vehicle, 4-door white sedan, is Bryan Kohberger's 4-door white Elantra and that he is in this car. Do they have pictures of him in the car? Do they have a video of him driving him, not just this white 4-door car, this idea of this car? You have to demonstrate that it's Bryan Kohberger and that it's his car. You can't just say that you have video and you're trying to attach multiple videos together as if this is some type of continuous driving. You can't show that. The prosecution just doesn't have that type of ability. And the issue is going to always come back to, even if there is a white vehicle in this area during these 2 hours, how do you prove that it's Bryan Kohberger's vehicle, his white Elantra? And also, how do you prove that Bryan Kohberger is in this car? Not just being the driver, he could be an occupant, right? Do you have a video? Do you have an eyewitness? What will be the testimony by the prosecution? And then also, what is going to be the contrary testimony by the defense? They're saying they have this analysis. Well, what is that? What is it? I just don't know. I'm perplexed, and because I don't have a full understanding, I just don't know what is there another way? Is there another way um, outside of video, of cell phone data, of an eyewitness, um, of a occupant in the car or a co-conspirator to prove that? I don't know, because Bryan Kohberger said he was driving alone, and he hasn't provided an alibi. He hasn't provided people that the prosecution can go and they can confirm, they can, you know, verify his alibi that he was there or he was with them or he stopped here. To me, that hasn't happened to my knowledge. So I just don't understand it. But let's move on. Mr. Kohberger was out driving in the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, as he often did, to hike and run and or see the moon and stars. So again, Mr. Kohberger is saying he was out. So he wasn't at home. He was out. He was driving. He was driving his white four-door Elantra, okay, during these early morning hours on the morning of the killings of Kaylee Gonclaves, Madison Mogen, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle. And during this time, as he often did, so he's going to have a history demonstrating that he often would go hiking, he would go running, and he would see the moon and stars. He would stargaze, he would take pictures. Hey, I don't have an issue with the alibi if it can be verified. Do you have pictures in your cell phone that's going to indicate, demonstrate that you were at a specific place, and it's going to show your geolocation, your location, and it's going to be time stamped. Just like when I travel, we always take pictures. Sometimes we go live, sometimes we'll do videos, but I take a lot of pictures. I capture those moments. I wonder if they're going to be able to use that type of technology, maybe from the picture, and they can ascertain from the picture your location, and it will be time stamped. Does he have a record in that regard where he's taking pictures throughout the evening or early morning hours, and it's going to demonstrate in order and time stamped that he was in this location and then he drove here? Or say he got out of the car, he parked, and he went for a run or a jog, or he was hiking, or he was stargazing, and he has pictures of the stars, of the moon, of the landscape. That's why I want to show you a little bit specifically about Wawawai County Park, because this is a park where they did have hiking, they had trails, they had things that you can do, campsites, etc. So I want to give you that information. Um, I want you to see it for yourself, because again, I was relying on this testimony from their cell phone data expert, Cyray, and I'm not trying to label you Mr. Cyray, but I'm just referring to your experience. And you may have a lot more experience. I'm not trying to undermine you, but to my knowledge, you're really going to hone in on the cell phone data. You're going to analyze it, and you're going to be able to track and demonstrate the movements of Mr. Bryan Kohberger on November 13th, 2022. So I'm wondering if it's going to come from the pictures. If he took pictures, if there's no way to follow his movements, Mr. Bryan Kohberger's movements throughout that morning, because there was no cell phone service in the area or areas where he was traveling and moving, then are they going to demonstrate this through photographs? Every photograph that you take, they can pinpoint your location, and then they will record the time. And that's the only thing I can think of. But please let me know. Give me your thoughts. Give me your ideas. I want to change this picture. I'm tired of looking at this picture of him. Um, Give me your thoughts. Give me your ideas of what do you think? How are they going to be able to prove where Mr. Bryan Kohberger was? The only thing I can think of at this stage, at this point, is if Mr. Bryan Kohberger took video or pictures. But you tell me, what are your thoughts? Okay, let's continue. He drove throughout. Well, let me back up to the prior sentence. Mr. Kohberger was out driving in the early morning hours of November 13, 2022, as he often did, to hike, run, and see or see the moon and stars. He drove throughout the area south of Pullman, Washington, west of Moscow, Idaho. Kohberger's lead attorney, Ann Taylor, said in the following. Prosecutors have alleged that in the early hours of November 13, 2022, Kohberger broke into an off-campus home and stabbed four University of Idaho students to death. Ethan Chapin, 20, Madison Mogen, 21, Xana Kernodle, 20, and Kaylee Gonclaves, 21. Kohberger, who at the time was a criminology PhD student at nearby Washington State University, was indicted in May of 2023 and charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary. At his arraignment, he declined to offer a plea, so the judge entered a not guilty plea on his behalf. Kohberger could face the death penalty if convicted. After Kohberger moved to the area in June of 2022, his lawyer said his avid habit as a runner and hiker prompted him to explore his new surroundings. But as the school year got busy, those hikes increasingly became nighttime drives. So I think the defense is trying to kind of lay this foundation that Kohberger, he moved in the area in June of 2022. And because he liked to run and hike and all of that, when he moved to this new area, this was all new to him. So what happens when you move to a new area, right? You want to explore the area. You want to see, what's around. Do they have kayaking? Do they have boating? Do they have fishing? Do they have areas where you can run? Do they have scenic areas where you can kind of explore, hike? Is this area mountainous? Can you camp here? All of these ideas, right? It's a new area. He's really learning it. And because he's an avid runner, he wants to find, some new areas where he can kind of explore, run, jog. And because he likes to kind of stargaze and things like that, which I'd like to do too. So I kind of understand exploring new areas and things like that. But, he's getting out. He's driving, he wants to learn this new area, okay? And because when the school year started, so in June, July, up until August, he's able to go and do a lot of that in daytime hours because he's not going to school, right? He's out for the summer. So when the school year kind of comes around, now he's busy. He's in class, right? And he can't go out and explore until later in the evening when he's done with his day. And this is how the nighttime going out, the nighttime drives, and all of that kind of happens. This is what they're kind of laying a foundation for, okay? So let's continue. Taylor added that the alibi is supported by data from Mr. Kohberger's phone showing him in the countryside late at night and or in the early morning on several occasions, including numerous pictures from several different late evenings and early mornings, including in November, depicting the night sky. So again, she's not honing in on November 13th, 2022. Ann Taylor is not saying specifically on November 13th, 2022. She is more generally writing, right? That he has this record of taking these photos, right? These pictures, and he's taking pictures of the night sky, and this happening late at night, in early mornings, and even in the month of November, right? He has these pictures, but we're not talking about any day. We're not talking about at any time. We're talking about and zero focusing in on, I would say, Saturday, November 12th, late into the early morning hours of Sunday, November 13th. Not just any day, not just any day in November, not your history from June 2022, July 2022, and then seeing that shift and do it later in the late night or early morning, starting maybe in August or September of 2022. No, we're talking specifically about the timing, the time frame of Saturday, November 12th, late in the evening to the early morning hours of Sunday, November 13th. Not just any day. We have to be very specific about that. And she's not, okay? So let's continue. That drive included Wawawai Park, a remote area along Snake River, about 20 miles away from Kohberger's apartment at the time, and roughly 28 miles away from the off campus home where the killings occurred. So now we're getting a little bit more in detail. So she's saying, and Taylor is saying that Bryan Kohberger's driving included Wawawai County Park, and that this area, this county park area, is about 28 miles away from the area where the murders occurred, and we'll just say 1122 King Road, right? So, again, my concern is how specific can we get? Can we zone in on the timing between late Saturday, November 12th, 2022, into the early morning hours, and during this period of time, specifically the time between 2:47 a.m. and 4:48 a.m., this about 2-hour window where we do not know the whereabouts of Bryan Kohberger through the cell phone data. So in this gap, this 2-hour gap, will they be able to demonstrate through these photos Bryan Kohberger's whereabouts? To me, it's a pretty simple idea. There's no cell phone coverage. So Bryan Kohberger's cell phone is not reporting to the network. Now, could we look at it a lot of ways? Was his phone on airplane mode? Was his phone turned off? Was his phone dead? Right? A lot of different ideas out there. But what they're saying is they have some photographs, some pictures. Then why is Bryan Kohberger being arrested and prosecuted? That's my question. That is my question. If this is true, if this can be demonstrated, what is this all for? But let's continue. To back up the defense's alibi claim, Kohberger's legal team told the court they intend to offer the testimony of their own expert to show that Bryan Kohberger's mobile device was south of Pullman, Washington, and west of Moscow, Idaho on November 13th, 2022, that Bryan Kohberger's mobile device did not travel east on the Moscow Pullman Highway in the early morning hours of November 13th, and thus his could not be the car captured on video traveling along the Moscow Pullman Highway near a local cannabis shop. So, what the defense is saying, what Ann Taylor is saying is the video that the prosecution has that shows a white four-door sedan traveling on the Moscow Pullman Highway near this local cannabis shop, it cannot be Bryan Kohberger's because he never went in that direction. So, can you have a similar vehicle, similar in design, style, color, but it cannot be his, right? Because you can't just say that a car is similar. You have to say and prove that this is Bryan Kohberger's car. And moreover, in addition to that, that Bryan Kohberger is in this car. He could be the driver or occupant, but if he is the killer, if you're saying that Bryan Kohberger is the killer, you have to put him in that car. And that's not even enough. At some point, he has to get out of that car. What evidence do they have that will demonstrate he parked and he got out of this vehicle? Because there's cameras everywhere, right? Let's continue. I just want to break this down more. Keep, tearing this apart, okay? Further details as to Mr. Kohberger's whereabouts as the early morning hours progressed, including analysis from their expert, will be provided once the state provides discovery requested, Taylor wrote in the newly released court document. If not disclosed, Ray, their expert's testimony will also reveal that critical exculpatory evidence further corroborating Mr. Kohberger's alibi was either not preserved or has been withheld. And I think they're referring to his time and advance records from AT&T, which the prosecution is saying they were not able to obtain because it was past the 7-day window. Whereas the defense is saying, well, the FBI was involved in this case. They did a lot of work behind the scenes and they had a window and the ability to get those records. But the state, again, the prosecution is saying they were not able to obtain those records for Bryan Kohberger. Okay, let's continue. Wednesday's filing aligns with previous comments from the defense about Kohberger's whereabouts the night of the murder, that he was driving around alone that night, which they have claimed had long been a habit of his. After a 6-week hunt, police zeroed in on Kohberger as the suspect in the murders of the students, arresting him in December of 2022 at his family's home in Pennsylvania. Investigators have said they relied in part on records from cell phone towers and on surveillance video of a car seen in the area of the King Road house on the night of the killings, part of which they have said includes a 2 hour time span in those after midnight hours where Kohberger's phone stops reporting to the network, which is consistent with either the phone being in an area without cellular coverage, the connection to the network is disabled, such as putting the phone in airplane mode, or that the phone is turned off. A trial date has yet to be set. So that's what I've already explained. That those are three different ways to account for the cell phone not reporting to a network. Okay. So I want to just pull up. I wonder if they have the video, or not video, the pictures of the white Elantra. I just want to look and see because there was a lot. Let me see if I can get this picture up. I can make it larger. Um, Wait a minute. So hard to get pictures. It's like a lot of things have been like scrubbed from the internet. They have video of it, but they don't have a picture. So I'm going to move off of that because we have other stuff we have to go over. So I'm going to share my screen now. I want to just share a video of pretty much what we just talked about, which was that Bryan Kohberger is basically saying that his alibi was that he was driving during the murders. So this video is by Crim 2 News. It's titled Bryan Kohberger Says He Was Driving Near Wawawai Park on the Night of the Student Murders. This video is less than 1 minute long, okay? So let's watch this.
I want to go back now to some breaking news. The suspect in the murders of 4 University of Idaho students has partially outlined his alibi for the morning of the murders.
So we know today was the deadline to file if the defense wanted to be able to use that alibi in the trial. Court documents say that Kohberger claims he was driving in the early morning hours on the night of the murders, as he, quote, often did to hike and run and or to see the moon and stars. It goes on to say that he drove that night throughout the area south of Pullman and west of Moscow, including to Wawawai Park.
The court documents also show the defense will provide more information about his whereabouts during the murders once it gets the additional evidence it's requested from the prosecution. I want to go back now.
Okay, so let me close that out. So I just wanted you to see, that was really breaking news, that once Bryan Kohberger provided the alibi, that, wow, his alibi is he was out driving, which, of course, that can't really be confirmed, right? There's no way to verify someone driving other than if they were able to provide you with like a route, and then you could kind of search along the route for possible video cameras and then try to obtain video to demonstrate that. So I just wanted to show you that. Now we're going to get into more about Wawawai Park, and I want to show you some information about Wawawai Park. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen because I never had any interest in the park. Of course, I would have no reason to really have any interest in the park, but I wanted to look into it a little bit more. to get a better understanding of the park. We already know that the park is 28 miles away from this Moscow, Idaho area where 1122 King Road is. So that's a decent distance apart. Um, so I'm on the website for Whitman County, and Whitman County encompasses Wawawai Park. Okay. Um, and I want to show you their website because they talk about the park and we can learn a little bit more about the park. So I'm going to read some of this. Okay. So Wawawai County Park sits in the Snake River Canyon, approximately 3 miles upstream from Lower Granite Dam. The park is open from 7 a.m. to dusk and for overnight camping year round. The 49-acre park is a popular place for families to picnic and camp. So there's camping, okay? There is a half-mile interpretive hiking trail. So they also have the hiking. If Bryan Kohberger was really interested, he probably would go here because that's a nice hike. A half a mile, that's pretty far. And then it says a nearby boat ramp facility provides access to the reservoir for fishing and water sports, which is nice, right? You can launch your boat there. You can take your kayak out, all the things that people enjoy, doing on the water, right? And it says it's unique to the park is the East Sheltered Ranger residence, okay? Um, and I did see like a shelter where people could go and have some coverage, right? Um, so I wanted to just go over the park amenities. So it says Wawawai County Park features an earth sheltered house, which serves as the park ranger's home. So the park ranger lives right on site, right in the park. Okay, that's pretty cool. And then it says the half-mile interpretive hiking trail. As you follow along the interpretive trail, you will learn geology, history, and natural features of the park and Snake River Canyon. So I would love to see that. That's pretty cool, right? And then it says one large group shelter with 10 picnic tables, a large barbecue grill, all and electrical outlets. So that's really nice. You can serve a lot of people with all of those picnic tables. You can have a family event and all of that. So that's really, really nice. And then they have 7 smaller shelters. Okay, each with a picnic table and barbecue grill. So that's really nice. Then there's a small bay off the Snake River. Okay. And the bay offers recreational opportunities for non motorized boating and fishing. So that would be like a smaller area where you could take like some paddle boats out, anything that would not have a motor, right? So the kayak, just a regular little boat, and you can do your fishing. So that sounds really nice. So they have a bird viewing platform, which probably would be interesting. If Brian, to me, he might like something like that. You could try to identify the different types of birds, which is pretty cool. But I think if he's an avid runner, he probably likes the hiking trail the most. Okay, so I just wanted to go over that now. I want to go to a couple of photos. Of the park. So this is the sign, of course, just introducing people like a welcome sign to the park. And this is just showing some areas throughout, driving areas. You see like there's a picnic table there where you could sit down. That's really nice. Again, more driving areas. You see the greenery, you see the trees, things like that. So now we're seeing the trails. So these are established trails. They have rocks to show you the pathway, for walking or running. So that's really nice. You see more areas to walk through. I don't know if people are biking through this. Most people don't want to bike on rocks, but they're showing you some sitting areas. They're showing you a larger shelter. Then they're kind of showing you like the landscape. It's really, really pretty. It's got the open water. You probably could do a little bit of fishing right off the water here. There's shelter there. Maybe if you want to do some kayaking or paddle boating, a nice little small area, you could do that with the kids. So I just wanted to show you that because I think it's important in the case now with everything that's going on with Cyray, what are the defense going to do about the court's order? What is going to be the strategy moving forward? I don't know how much Cyray will be of value now. I have a whole video on that. Please check it out because I do believe that his value has been diminished. But if they're still relying on these pictures or photos, that would indicate time and also location. They can find out where you took a photo. Okay, so that's important if that is what they are resting their case on. Because that 2-hour window he will not be able to testify to at this time. That is what the court has ordered. So I want to go now and I'm going to go over 2 videos from 2 different content creators from YouTube. I can't be everywhere. I just don't have the time. So I do have to rely on others that actually can see more. Okay, so the first video that I'm going to show, content creator is Thou Shall Not Kill True Crime. He did a video and he is demonstrating that there is no cell phone coverage at this park, Wawawai County Park. So I want to share that. I'll just take like a couple of minutes of his video. Please check out his YouTube page, Thou Shall Not Kill True Crime. Follow him, subscribe, like his video, okay? The video is titled Idaho 4 Wawawai Park Live Tour. Boom, no cell service. Easily could have lost signal that night. So let me share my screen. And we'll just watch a few minutes of his video. Okay. So I'm going to enlarge it, and then we'll just watch a few minutes.
Hello, everyone. Very nice to see you again. Thank you so much for stopping by. It is much appreciated. If you are new to the channel, welcome. So here we are back in Pullman, right at the Steptoe Apartments, and there's Brian's apartment right over there. So I did go and take a brief walk around, and it looks like the blinds are open. I have not seen the blinds open here in about a year, so I can't say for sure that somebody's living there. It didn't look like it, but there was like a maintenance order on the door, and that was the only one in there. So I don't think somebody lives in there, but obviously maintenance still goes in there. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update on that.
Yeah, I'm a puzzle here. So this creator, he is showing you Bryan Kohberger's apartment, the apartment that he lived in at the time. So this will be November of 2022. Now it appears that at the time that he did his video that the apartment still remained vacant. Okay, so now he's going to go to Wawawai County Park.
So the other reason why I'm back here today is we are going to go to Wawawai Park. Now, obviously, this is where Bryan would have left from whenever time he was out there and decided to go out there on those 12 times that he was quoted in the PCA. So we're going to go out there, go walk around on the trails, go see the possible spots where he would stargaze or moon gaze or whatever he was doing out there. And we're just going to see how close in proximity it is to cell towers and how long it takes to get there. Now I'm going to put that on the screen right now. It takes about 30 minutes from Bryan's apartment to get there. Glad we're back together again, and let's take a ride to Wawawai Park. I'll see you there.
Okay, so I'm gonna fast forward a little bit because there's a lot of music. I don't own the rights to any of this music, so I don't want to show you his drive. But as you can see, as I'm pausing this video, this is really a terrain area with a lot of mountains. He's literally driving through the mountains to get to Wawawai County Park. So we have to consider that when you have a lot of mountains, you don't have a lot of cell phone coverage, you're going to lose any type of signal to report to the network. So I'm just going to fast forward this a little bit because I don't own any of the music. Okay, so I'll pick it up here and we'll just watch a little bit, and he's just going to demonstrate that from, his cell phone, he does not have a signal, okay? And that's the important part. I don't want to just tell you that. I want to show you that there is no signal at this county park, okay?
Alrighty, everybody. So we made it here to Wawawai Park. It is nice and warm out here. Let me tell you today. It is nice and warm. But as you saw in the previous video clip that I showed you, it was a very nice and scenic, pretty wide open drive.
And I just want to pause it here. So he kind of turned his phone around and he kind of showed you the area. There's mountains everywhere. This is not an area that has any homes. It's not residential, and it doesn't have any commercial buildings, businesses. So they're not going to put towers. They're going to put cell phone towers where people don't live and businesses are. So there's not going to be any type of connection for a signal in this area that's vast, because there's nobody living here. These are visitors. They're coming for a few hours. They may camp and then they're going to leave. So they're not gonna put invest any cell phone towers in this area. My opinion, okay?
I did not see one cell phone tower. That is not a cell phone tower. Those are electrical lines. And I say that because I want to show you something. So there was no cell phone towers, and I have no service. If you could see right there in the corner where my bars are supposed to be, I had a big circle with a line through it, meaning no network. Okay, so
Okay, so I just wanted you to hear that from someone that is on site that's saying, hey, I didn't see any cell phone towers. I do see some electrical lines running for power, but I don't see any cell phone towers. And I do not have any cell phone service. Okay. So I really appreciate you allowing me to use just a brief part of your video. So I want to go to a different video now. This video is just going to show you a little bit more of the park. This YouTube creator, Overnight Adventures Vlog, they have created a little bit of a video just showing you kind of the park and what's there. I like the video, and I just want to show you just a few minutes of the video. Okay, so I'm going to share it. The video is titled Wawawai County Park Walkthrough. Okay, and I'm going to enlarge the video too. So it's some really beautiful backgrounds, beautiful pictures you can take. You can see someone camping there. You can kind of see the area.
Here at the Wawawai County Park.
You can see the mountains. You can see how a car could just park. You could get out and walk.
Isn't that fun? Anyway, taking a walk through the campground. There's a few sites. I don't know exactly how many.
So I just want to fast forward a little bit because this is like at the campground. So we'll just move past this a little bit. Play a little bit here.
What kind of fruit should a person eat if they want to burn fat and improve their health?
That's kind of neat. I guess this is a wetland. You can see the cat's tails in there. That's kind of cool. And it's a cheap beer bottles from fucking people who can't pick up the shit.
So you can kind of see the water. You can see the trail. How a person can kind of walk along the trail, have that beautiful view. You can see the mountains.
It looks like it's dog friendly, but you've got to leash your pet. So
you can kind of see the shelter if you want to sit down, if you want to be kind of covered from any wet rain or anything like that.
There's that. Looks like
so let's fast forward a little bit more.
Plus, it's only like 40 degrees out. Definitely skipping that. See, there's a snow up on the hillside there. That's what I got rained on. All right, so let's just continue on upwards.
So that area right there, you can see how you can launch right into the water. If you have a kayak, you can go right into the water there. If you have a small boat, if you have a paddle boat, anything like that, you can kind of go into the water right there. It's like a little boat launch area, okay?
Here. Looks like they've been doing a lot of tree maintenance. They got firewood, it looks like. That's cool.
Nice view, nice serene view of the water.
Anyway, oh, that's a nice little bench. It's a
sitting area
there.
everywhere. Let's continue. Move a little bit more. So we'll see a little walking trail here again where you could,
so we're at the
could ride a bike, you could run.
Trail. We'll do this later. But that's good to know. Lots of garbage cans here, which is really good.
So you see how you could see that was the trail ahead, that area there. We see the trail here.
The river way out there. And that's what I'm hearing. Their voices coming across the valley. It's pretty peaceful and quiet today. As I mentioned, it's below 40, so not a lot of people out. Kind of nice.
So let's see if there's anything else we can kind of check out. You see it's starting to get a little bit later in the day.
Walk a little and enjoy the view.
So it's a great area for running, for biking, jogging. You know, you could take some nice pictures of the water. So again, you know, give them a like, check the video out if you like stuff like that. But I just wanted you to see, you know, if this is the area where Bryan Kohberger was doing his hiking, stargazing, you know, it's a lot of water around, it's mountainous. You could see the trail for jogging, running, biking. He may have been there that night. But you have to prove it. Unfortunately, you have to prove that. And he doesn't have anybody with him. He wasn't driving with a companion or anything like that. So he was out alone. And since there's no cell phone service, you know, he's going to have to find a way to prove that. And hopefully that will be through pictures, which they will have a timestamp, and they'll be able to locate directly where he was in this park if he took pictures the night of November 13th. Excuse me, the early morning hours of November 13, 2022. So that's what I wanted to share with you. I wanted to share with you this area. I wanted to share with you the alibi. You know, the fact that he, you know, is off the network between 2:47 a.m. and 4:48 a.m. Okay, there's about a 2-hour time frame where he is allegedly in an area where there's no cell phone coverage. And I've just demonstrated to you that at this park, at Wawawai County Park, there is no cell phone coverage. There's no cell phone tower. So we would not be on the network. Please let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. You know, it's a lot to this case, and I'm just going to have to keep going over the evidence, keep going back and seeing what we can figure out. So thank you for spending this time with me. I really, really appreciate it. I want you to enjoy this day. Be safe, be smart, be savvy, be well, all my friends. Have a beautiful afternoon, everybody. Bye.